The big ship Prosperity's Edge moved slowly through space toward the gray planet below. Inside the ship, Daeho Kim looked out the window at their new home. The planet looked dead. No green plants, no blue oceans, just gray dirt and empty sky. "This place looks terrible," said Min-ho Lee, standing next to him. Min-ho was the chief engineer. He had kind eyes and big hands that could fix anything. Daeho nodded. "The report said it was dead, but it has good minerals under the ground. That's why we're here." Behind them, Dr. Hyjin Park was looking at her science tools. She was the team's expert on alien life. Her tools showed no signs of life on the planet, but something felt wrong to her. The numbers were too perfect, too clean. "Sir," she said, to Daeho, "these readings are strange. Dead planets usually have some old bacteria or tiny life forms. This planet has nothing. It's like it was cleaned." Two alien beings watched the humans talk. The first was Jexvel, a creature made of living crystal. Light moved through its body when it thought. The second was a cloud of gas that spoke through a machine. They were part of the Galactic Coalition, the group that controlled space travel. "Humans worry too much," the gas cloud said. Its voice came out flat and electronic. "The planet is dead. Your tools prove this. Build your minds and take the minerals." Jexvel's crystal body flashed blue. "The humans bring children to this dead world. This seems unwise." "We didn't bring any children," Daeho said quickly. "This is a work mission only." The ship landed on the planet with a loud crash. The ground was hard and gray. No wind blew. No sounds came from anywhere. It was the most quiet place any of them had ever been. The humans put on their breathing masks and stepped outside. The air was thin, but they could breathe it for short times. Daeho looked around at the empty land. It stretched out forever in all directions. "Let's start setting up the base," he said to his team. "The sooner we build, the sooner we can start mining." For 3 days, the humans worked hard. They built living spaces and work areas. They set up machines to drill into the ground. The aliens watched and took notes about everything. On the 4th day, Min-ho was checking the ship's storage rooms. He heard a small sound coming from behind some boxes. He moved the boxes and found a little girl hiding there. She was maybe 8 years old with dark hair and scared eyes. She wore a dirty dress and held a small bag of things. "Hello?" Min-ho said softly. "What's your name?" "So-young," the girl whispered. "So-young Kim?" Min-ho's heart dropped. "Kim? Are you related to Daeho?" The girl nodded. "He's my dad. But he left me on Earth. He said this place was too dangerous for kids." Min-ho sat down next to her. "How did you get on this ship?" "I hid in the cargo area before we left Earth. I wanted to be with my dad. I brought some of Grandma's stories with me." She showed him an old book in her bag. Min-ho didn't know what to do. He took So-young to find her father. When Daeho saw his daughter, his face went white. "So-young, how are you here? You're supposed to be safe on Earth with your aunt." "I wanted to come with you," So-young said, starting to cry. "I don't want to be alone anymore." The aliens heard the noise and came to see what was happening. When they saw the child, Jexvel's crystal body turned red with anger. "This is not acceptable," the gas cloud said. "Children cannot be on dead worlds. It is against coalition rules." "The next transport ship leaves in 6 months," Jexvel added. "The child must go back to Earth then." Daeho held his daughter close. He was angry that she had hidden on the ship, but he was also happy to see her. "Fine, but until then she stays with us." "The child must not interfere with the mining work," the gas cloud warned. "She won't," Daeho promised. That night, Daeho talked to his daughter in their small room. "So-young, why did you really come here?" The little girl looked down at her hands. "Grandma used to tell me stories about plants and animals. She said stories could make things grow. Before she died, she gave me her book and said I should tell stories to places that need life. This planet is dead, sweetheart. There's nothing here to grow." "Maybe," So-young said. "But Grandma said dead things just need someone to remember them back to life." The next morning, Min-ho found So-young sitting outside the base. She was talking to the gray dirt like it was a friend. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Telling the ground a story about flowers," she said. "Grandma said the earth always listens." Minho smiled. The child seemed happy here, even though the planet was empty and quiet. He decided to watch over her while her father worked. Dr. HFY Park walked over to join them. She had been thinking about the planet's strange readings all night. "So young," she said. "Has the ground said anything back to you?" The little girl thought about this seriously. "Not with words, but it feels lonely, like it's been sleeping for a very long time." HFY looked at the dirt where So Young was sitting. It looked the same as dirt everywhere else on the planet. But something about what the child said made her want to test it. "Can I take a small sample of this dirt?" she asked. So Young. "Okay, but be gentle. I think it's starting to remember how to dream." As the days passed, the adults worked on building their mining base. So Young spent her time talking to different patches of ground around the camp. She told them stories from her grandmother's book about green forests, singing birds, and dancing flowers. The aliens watched this strange behavior with interest. They had never seen anything like it before. "The human child talks to dirt," Jexvel observed. "Human young often create imaginary friends," the gas cloud replied. "It is a known behavior pattern." But HFY was starting to wonder if there was more to it than that. Her tests of the soil where So Young sat showed tiny changes that shouldn't be possible on a dead world. Something was happening on this quiet planet. Something the aliens had missed. And it all started with one small girl who believed that stories could wake up sleeping worlds. 2 weeks passed on the gray planet. Every morning, So Young would eat breakfast with her father and Minho. Then she would take her grandmother's book and walk to a quiet spot near the camp. "Where are you going today?" Minho would ask. "To visit my friends," So Young would say. Minho knew she meant the patches of dirt she talked to. He thought it was sad that a little girl had to make friends with dirt because there was nothing else alive on this planet. But So Young didn't seem sad. She seemed happy and excited each time she went out. Daeho was too busy to pay much attention. He had mining machines to set up and work schedules to make. The aliens watched everything he did and asked many questions. He wanted to show them that humans could do good work. Dr. HFY Park spent her days testing soil and air samples. Every test showed the same thing. This planet was completely dead. No bacteria, no tiny life forms, nothing. But something was bothering her. Each day she tested soil from different places around the camp. Most of it was exactly the same. Dead, gray dirt with no life in it. Except for the places where So Young sat and told her stories. Those places were different, just a little bit. The differences were so small that her machines could barely detect them. But they were there. One morning, HFY decided to follow So Young. She wanted to see what the little girl actually did when she visited her friends. So Young walked to a flat area about 50 steps from the camp. She sat down in the dirt and opened her grandmother's book. "Hello, ground," she said in a soft voice. "I'm back. Are you ready for today's story?" HFY hid behind a large rock and watched. She felt silly spying on a child, but her scientist mind needed to know what was happening. So Young looked at her book and began to read. Once upon a time, there was a forest where every tree could sing. The oak trees sang deep songs about being strong. The willow trees sang sad songs about missing the rain. As she read, So Young would touch the dirt with her hands. Sometimes she would pour a little water from her bottle onto the ground. "Grandma said trees need water to grow," she explained to the dirt. "I know you're not a tree yet, but maybe you're learning how to be one." HFY watched for an hour. So Young, read 3 stories about forests, flowers, and birds. After each story, she would pat the ground gently and say, "Thank you for listening." When So Young was done, she looked happy and energetic. She ran back to camp with a big smile. HFY went to the spot where So Young had been sitting. She took a small sample of the dirt and brought it back to her lab. Under her microscope, the dirt looked mostly normal. But there were tiny differences. The chemical makeup was slightly changed. There were trace amounts of organic compounds that shouldn't exist on a dead planet. "This is impossible," HFY said to herself. She tested the dirt sample 5 more times. Each test showed the same impossible results. The next day, Hyejin asked So Young if she could sit with her during story time. Of course, So Young said. The ground likes having more people to listen. They walked to So Young's favorite spot. Hyejin noticed that the area around it looked a little different from the rest of the planet. The dirt seemed softer somehow, less gray and more brown. So Young opened her book. Today I want to read about the garden where my grandma grew vegetables. She read about tomatoes that grew red and round, carrots that grew orange and sweet, and lettuce that grew green and crisp. Grandma said plants grow better when you talk to them, So Young told the ground. She said they liked to hear about other plants that were happy and healthy. After the story, So Young pulled a piece of bread from her pocket. She crumbled it up and sprinkled it on the dirt. This is for you, she said, in case you get hungry while you're learning how to grow. Hyejin watched all of this with great interest. She was starting to think that So Young might be doing something important, something the adults and aliens didn't understand. That evening, Hyejin talked to Minho about what she had seen. I know it sounds crazy, she said, but I think So Young is changing the dirt somehow. Minho thought about this. She does seem happier here than she was on Earth. Her aunt said she was very sad after her grandmother died, but here she's like a different child. Have you noticed anything else strange about the places where she sits? Minho nodded. Yesterday I saw her crying at one of her spots. She said she missed her grandma, but today that same spot looked softer, like the dirt was more alive. Jexvel, the crystal alien, had been listening to their conversation. Its body flashed with curious blue light. The human child interests me, it said. She performs the same ritual each day. But rituals usually have purpose. What purpose does talking to dead dirt serve? Maybe we should ask her, Hyejin suggested. The next morning, Jexvel joined So Young for story time. The little girl wasn't afraid of the tall crystal being. She patted the ground next to her. You can sit here, she said. The ground wants to meet you. Jexvel carefully sat down. Its crystal body made a soft ringing sound against the dirt. So Young read a story about a magic garden where every plant could grant wishes. As she read, Jexvel's internal sensors detected small changes in the soil's electromagnetic field. Interesting, Jexvel said when the story was finished. The dirt responds to your words. All things like stories, So Young explained. Grandma taught me that. Even sleeping things like to dream about being awake. After So Young left, Jexvel stayed to examine the dirt more closely. Its advanced sensors found things that human equipment had missed. There were microscopic structures forming in the soil. They looked almost like the beginning of root systems. But that was impossible. Nothing could grow on this dead planet. 3 days later, something happened that changed everything. So Young was reading a story about rainbow flowers when she dropped her book. She reached to pick it up and cut her hand on a sharp rock. Ow, she cried. Small drops of her blood fell onto the dirt. Minho ran over to help her. He wrapped her hand in a clean cloth and took her back to camp to bandage the cut. But neither of them saw what happened to the dirt where her blood had fallen. 6 hours later, Hyejin was taking her daily soil samples from So Young's storytelling spots. When she got to the place where So Young had cut her hand, her equipment started beeping like crazy. The soil was alive. Not just a little bit alive. It was full of growing, moving, living things. Under the surface, tiny root-like structures were spreading out in all directions. Hyejin stared at her readings in shock. In just 6 hours, life had exploded in this one small spot. She ran back to camp to tell the others, but stopped when she saw the alien gas cloud floating near the communication station. If the aliens found out about this, they might take So Young away. Or worse, they might do something to stop whatever was happening. Hyejin decided to keep the discovery secret, at least for now. But deep underground, something ancient was waking up. Something that had been waiting for a very long time for someone to tell it the right kind of stories. And So Young's blood had given it the final piece it needed to begin growing again. Hyejin kept the secret about So Young's blood for 3 days. Each morning she would sneak out early to check the spot where life had exploded from the dead dirt. What she found amazed her more each day. The tiny root-like things were growing fast. They spread underground in long lines that reached toward other places where So-Young told stories. It was like the planet was building roads between all of So-Young's favorite spots. On the fourth day, Hyejin couldn't keep the secret anymore. She had to tell someone. She found Minho fixing a water pump near the camp. "I need to show you something," she said quietly. "But you have to promise not to tell the aliens yet." Minho followed her to So-Young's storytelling spot. Hyejin showed him her equipment readings. "Look at this," she said. "The whole area is alive now, and it's spreading." Minho stared at the numbers on her screen. "How is this possible?" "I think it has something to do with So-Young's blood, and her stories, and maybe just her being human." They heard laughing nearby. So-Young was sitting at another spot reading to the dirt about dancing butterflies. As she read, both adults saw something impossible. The gray dirt around her was slowly turning brown. Real brown, like healthy soil. "We have to tell Daeho," Minho whispered. That evening, they told Daeho everything. He listened with his mouth open in surprise. "You're saying my daughter is making a dead planet come alive?" he asked. "The evidence all points to that," Hyejin said. "Every place she tells stories is changing. The changes are spreading underground and connecting to each other." Daeho sat down heavily. "This is big, really big. If the aliens find out, they'll probably take her away," Minho finished. But someone was already listening. Chexvel had been standing near their camp, watching the humans with interest. Its crystal body could hear conversations from far away. The next morning, Chexvel approached So-Young during her story time. "Young human," it said, "I must ask you something important. Do you know that you are changing this planet?" So-Young looked up from her book. "The ground is just remembering how to be alive. I'm helping it remember with stories." But this planet was declared dead by the Coalition. Dead planets must stay dead. It is the law. "That's a silly law," So-Young said. "Nothing stays dead forever. Grandma taught me that. Even when things die, they turn into soil so new things can grow." Chexvel's crystal body flashed with worried red light. This human child was causing a problem that could get everyone in trouble. But before Chexvel could decide what to do, something amazing happened. So-Young finished reading a story about singing birds. As she closed her book, a small green shoot pushed up through the dirt right next to her hand. A real plant, growing on a dead world. Chexvel's crystal body turned bright white with shock. It had never seen anything like this before. "How?" it whispered. So-Young gently touched the tiny green plant. "I told the ground about seeds today. Maybe it found some old seeds deep down and woke them up." That day, more impossible things happened. Small plants started growing at 3 different storytelling spots. The air around the camp became easier to breathe, and Hyejin's instruments detected that the underground network now stretched for miles in every direction. But the most amazing thing happened that evening. So-Young started coughing. The new air on the planet was changing fast, and her human lungs couldn't adjust quickly enough. She had trouble breathing and felt very sick. Daeho was scared. "We need to get her to the medical bay," he told Minho. But as they carried So-Young toward the camp, something strange happened. The air around them became richer and easier to breathe. It was like the planet was making special air just for them. Inside the medical bay, So-Young's breathing got better quickly. Outside, Hyejin checked her instruments and found that the oxygen levels were higher in a bubble around their camp. "The planet is protecting us," she realized. The gas cloud alien noticed the changes too. It contacted the Galactic Coalition with an emergency message. 2 days later, a message came back from Coalition headquarters. The gas cloud read it to all the humans, and Chexvel. The planet Kepler 442c was classified as dead. Any biological activity violates Coalition Protocol 7749. A sterilization fleet has been sent to return the planet to its proper dead state. All personnel must evacuate immediately. Daeho felt his heart sink. "When will the fleet arrive?" In 10 days, the gas cloud said, they will use chemical weapons to kill all the new life. Then you may return to mine the minerals. So Young, who was feeling better, started to cry. They want to kill my friends? The dirt is not your friend, the gas cloud said coldly. It is just dirt. No, So Young said loudly. The planet is alive. It's been sleeping and now it's waking up. You can't kill something that just learned how to live. That night, Daeho had a hard choice to make. He could follow orders and leave with his daughter, or he could stay and protect what she had somehow created. He talked to So Young before bedtime. Sweetheart, we might have to leave this planet. The aliens say it's dangerous now. So Young looked very sad. But Daddy, the planet isn't dangerous. It's just happy to be alive again. If we leave, who will tell it stories? Who will help it remember how to grow? The next morning, Daeho made his decision. He called a meeting with all the humans. I'm not leaving, he announced. My daughter has done something amazing here. Something that shouldn't be possible. I won't let them destroy it. But the sterilization fleet, Hyojin started. We'll find a planet that's more alive than they expected, Daeho finished. Minho nodded. I'm staying too. Someone needs to protect So Young. Hyojin thought for a moment. If we're staying, I want to document everything. The galaxy needs to know what humans can do. Even Jexvel surprised them. I will stay as well. This is the most interesting thing I have ever seen. I must study it more. The gas cloud was very angry. You are all breaking coalition law. I will report this. Report whatever you want, Daeho said. We're not abandoning this world. Over the next week, the changes on the planet grew faster and bigger. Plants were now growing all around the camp. The air was clean and fresh. Underground, the root network connected everything like a giant brain. And So Young seemed to be getting stronger instead of weaker. She could now tell when the planet was happy or sad. She said it was excited about learning new things from her stories. On the 8th day, something wonderful happened. So Young was reading about fruit trees when she felt a warm feeling in her chest. The planet wants to say thank you, she told the adults. It says it's been lonely for so long and now it remembers what it feels like to be alive. Hyojin looked at her readings. The planet's electromagnetic field was stronger. The atmosphere was becoming more like Earth's. Life was spreading across entire continents now. So Young, she said, I think you've awakened something that's been asleep for millions of years. On the 10th day, they saw ships in the sky. The sterilization fleet had arrived, but they were about to find a very different planet than they expected. The sterilization ships came down from the sky like angry metal birds. There were 5 of them, each one big enough to carry chemicals that could kill every living thing on the planet. So Young stood outside the camp, looking up at the ships. She wasn't scared. Instead, she seemed calm and happy. They're here, she told her father. Daeho put his hand on her shoulder. Are you ready for this? So Young nodded. The planet wants to talk to them. It has things to say. The biggest ship landed near their camp. A door opened and 3 beings came out. There was another gas cloud alien, a tall creature made of metal, and something that looked like a walking tree. They wore special suits to protect them from the dangerous air that the planet was now making. The metal creature spoke with a voice, like grinding gears. This planet was reported as dead. Why do we detect massive biological activity? Because it's not dead anymore, Daeho said simply. That is impossible, the tree-like being said. Our scans show this world had no life for over 3 million years. Jexvel stepped forward. Its crystal body was flashing with excited blue light. Honored coalition members, I have made an important discovery. Humans possess a unique ability that we have never seen before. What ability? The metal creature demanded. They can awaken dormant life through emotional connection and storytelling, Jexvel explained. This child has somehow brought an entire planet back to life. The tree being made a sound like wind through leaves. It was laughing. A child cannot resurrect a dead world. This is impossible. So Young walked toward the coalition members. The adults tried to stop her. but she gave them a look that said she knew what she was doing. "Hello," she said to the aliens. "Would you like to meet my friend?" "What friend?" the gas cloud asked. So Young knelt down and put her hands on the ground. "Planet, these people want to meet you. Can you say hello?" For a moment, nothing happened. The coalition members looked at each other with amusement. Then the ground began to glow. A soft, warm light came up from the dirt. It spread out in lines that connected all the places where So Young had told her stories. The lines formed a pattern that looked like a giant brain made of light. The aliens stepped back in surprise. "Greetings," a voice said. It didn't come from any speaker. It came from the ground itself, from the air, from everywhere at once. "I am awake again." The metal creature's sensors went crazy. "Impossible. Planets cannot speak." "I have been sleeping," the planet's voice continued. "For so long, I dreamed of silence. But the small human brought me stories of life, and I remembered how to grow." Hyejin was recording everything with her equipment. Her hands shook with excitement as she documented the first conversation between humans and a living planet. "This is amazing," she whispered. The tree being demanded answers. "What are you? How do you exist?" "I am one of the old ones," the planet explained. "Long ago, many worlds like me lived in harmony with smaller life forms. We provided soil and air and water. They provided stories and dreams and love. But the smaller beings died out, and we went to sleep." So Young smiled. "But you're awake now." "Yes, little storyteller. Your words and your caring heart taught me how to live again. Your blood gave me the final peace I needed. Humans have something special, something that can wake sleeping worlds." The coalition members were very confused. This was not in any of their rulebooks. "If this is true," the metal creature said slowly, "then our protocols for dead worlds are wrong." Chexvel's crystal body flashed bright white. "More than wrong. We have been missing the greatest discovery in galactic history. Humans are not just another species. They are life singers." "Life singers?" Deho asked. "Beings who can bring worlds back to life through emotional connection," Chexvel explained. "In all our travels across the galaxy, we have never found any species that could do this." The planet's voice spoke again. "There are many worlds like me, sleeping, waiting, lonely. The small human could wake them all if she chooses." So Young looked around at all the adults and aliens. "There are more planets that need stories?" "Hundreds," the tree being said quietly. "Maybe thousands. Worlds we classified as dead because we didn't understand they were only sleeping." The gas cloud floated closer to So Young. "Child, do you understand what this means? You have shown us that life and death are not what we thought they were." "Grandma always said death was just a long sleep," So Young replied. "And everyone wakes up eventually if someone cares enough to call their name." Over the next few days, more ships arrived. Scientists from every species in the coalition came to study what had happened. They ran tests and took measurements and asked So Young hundreds of questions. But the most important thing happened when So Young taught other human children how to do what she did. A ship brought 5 children from Earth. So Young showed them how to sit quietly with the dirt and tell it stories about growing things. She taught them to share water and food with the ground. Most importantly, she taught them to care about the planet like it was a friend. Within a week, all 5 children could make plants grow where nothing had grown before. "It's not magic," So Young explained to the amazed scientists. "It's just love. Planets want to be alive, but they need someone to help them remember how." The coalition held emergency meetings for days. Finally, they made new rules. The Soul protocols were named after the city where So Young was born. These new rules said that humans had special rights to visit dead worlds and try to wake them up. Instead of mining ships, humans would send story ships. Instead of taking minerals, they would give life. So Young became the first official life singer. She traveled to sleeping worlds with groups of human children, teaching them how to whisper dreams to empty soil. The galaxy changed. Worlds that had been silent for millions of years began to sing again. Plants grew on planets where nothing had grown before. The air became cleaner. Space became more alive. Other species watched in wonder as humans spread across the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as gardeners. They brought stories and laughter and love to places that had forgotten what those things were. Years later, when So Young was grown up, she would sit with new children on new worlds and tell them about her grandmother's stories. She would teach them that everything deserves a chance to live, even things that seem dead. The universe is full of sleeping friends, she would say. They're just waiting for someone to tell them a good story and help them wake up. And across the galaxy, on dozens of worlds that had once been silent, children sat in circles telling stories to the soil, watching flowers bloom around them while alien species watched in amazement at humanity's greatest gift: the ability to love life into existence. The dead worlds were dead no more. They were just worlds that had been waiting for the right storytellers to come along and sing them back to life.